story time. I am going to be telling the story of my son, Cameron, and I felt it in my heart that I should share my story with you guys because I know right now that there's someone who's pregnant or there's someone else who's been through what I've been through, and I feel like me sharing my story will alert you guys, and it could possibly prevent this happening to anyone else. So if you guys would like to hear my story, I ask that you please stay tuned. If not, I encourage you to please stop this video. All right, guys. So back in 2012, my husband and I got a surprise when I found out I was pregnant. We had been trying to get pregnant, but it didn't, it just wasn't happening. So we just kind of like stopped it. When I found out I was pregnant, at that time I had not been tracking my ovulation or keeping up with my menstrual cycle or anything like that. So when we got pregnant, we were like super, super, super excited. Our son Cameron was my husband's first child, so of course he's excited. I can remember as soon as it was confirmed that we sent out these little cards to everyone telling them, that hey, we're expecting, but we don't know what we're having yet. So I can remember that. So I can say that throughout my pregnancy, everything did seem fine. I went to the doctor regularly. I kept getting, good things from the doctor. I passed my glucose test. Like everything seemed fine up until I was 33 weeks pregnant. I had went into the doctor for my 33-week checkup, and at the beginning of the doctor's appointment, they always request that you give a urine sample. So I gave my urine sample, and the girl tested it, and she said that I had protein in my urine. Now, usually that means that I may have like a possible kidney infection or something, or a urinary tract infection. So that's the first thing she noticed. She was like, "Oh, you have protein in your urine." Now, mind you, I had been drinking like a gallon of Milo sweet tea every, 4 or 5 days. So I was thinking, okay, well maybe I should cut back on the tea. So she then took my blood pressure, and I noticed that she took my blood pressure more than once, and she was like, "Your blood pressure is high." And I'm just thinking, okay, well, maybe it's the excitement because I'm 33 weeks pregnant. We're getting closer to meeting our son. Um, you know, and so I just thought it was that. So, I just kind of brushed it off and didn't think it was anything. So she took it again, and then she went and got my doctor, and my doctor was like, okay, well, let's just give her some water and just let her sit there to calm down for a second. So they gave me water. I sat there for like 15 minutes, and then they took my blood pressure again, and apparently this time it had went down, so they sent me to the back for my regular checkup. I went to the back for my regular checkup. Again, everything seemed normal. I did have a little bit swelling on my feet, but the doctor said that I should elevate my feet. So she didn't really say anything, drastic. I just thought that I was pregnant and I was, getting closer. So that's why my feet were swelling. And the doctor had only told me to elevate my feet. But anyways, like I was saying, so we're back there. We checked my son's heartbeat. We heard his heartbeat. And then she was like, okay, well, I'll see you guys for a follow-up in 35 weeks. Because like I said, I was going every 2 weeks, and I was really close to having my son. So we left the doctor's appointment. Everything was fine. The swelling in my feet, I still had that. Even though I elevated my feet, I still had the swelling in my feet. I don't recall having any type of headaches or anything like that. But I do remember that on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, I was laying in bed with my husband. It was at night, and I was having contractions. At that time, I thought that they were only Braxton Hicks because, I was basically 35 weeks pregnant, and I was thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm having Braxton Hicks. I'm getting closer, I just brushed it off as Braxton Hicks. So I just rolled over and went to sleep. Well, the next morning I woke up and I was still having those same cramps or contractions. And I got out the bed and I went and sat on the sofa, and I decided to start timing them. So they were like 30 to 45 minutes apart. And then they had started getting closer. They were like 20 minutes apart. So I called my doctor, and my doctor's like, oh, okay, well, it sounds like it may be Braxton Hicks, but if it gets to a point to where they're 10 minutes or less apart, then you need to come in. So the day went on, I was continually have these cramps, and then I was timing them, and then I noticed, hey, okay, they're 10 minutes apart, so I must be having, contractions. I need to go to the doctor. So I went in, I told my husband, I'm like, hey, babe, I'm having contractions. I need to go to the doctor. Fine. So we go to the hospital. I go to the emergency room, tell them, hey, I'm 35 weeks pregnant. I'm having contractions 10 minutes apart. Fine. They send me up to labor and delivery. They sent me up to labor and delivery, but they didn't have a room ready. So I had to sit in a waiting room. I sat in the waiting room for about 20 minutes while still having contractions, which at this point were about 7 minutes apart before I went to a room. Finally, I got into my room. I changed it to my hospital gown. And then they came in, they did the IV, and then they went to put on the fetal monitor. They put on the fetal monitor, and sorry guys, I'm trying not to cry. They put on the fetal monitor, and I noticed that she kept moving it around, trying to find my son's heartbeat. So she kept moving around, and she was like, "Oh, he likes to run." She was like, "We got a runner." So they kept trying to find his heartbeat. So she was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to go get the ultrasound machine because I'm having a hard time." I didn't think anything of it. So she went and got the ultrasound machine. She came back. She put it on my stomach. And then, like, they immediately looked at each other. And they went and got the doctor. They went and got the doctor. The doctor came back. She put it on my stomach. And then she looked at me and she told me, she looked at me and she told me that my son didn't have a heartbeat. And sorry guys, she told me that my son didn't have a heartbeat. So once she told me that, I think that it was kind of like an out of body experience because I couldn't believe that it was happening to me. So I don't think that I clearly understood what exactly was happening. I was still having contractions, and I can remember my contractions were very close until she decided to check me. So when she checked me, she was like, "Okay, you're 10 centimeters dilated. Now it's time to push." Mind you, I didn't get any type of pain medication. I had to push, I had to deliver my son naturally. So I delivered my son, and when I delivered my son, he was a stillborn. So he had already passed. Um, Once he was delivered, the doctor looked at him, and then she had told me that my son had passed several days before. So at this time, it was all too overwhelming for me. So my blood pressure kind of like skyrocketed. And I can remember it was like really, really high to where I was on the verge of a stroke. So the doctor had to give me some medicine that I had to take to lower my blood pressure because I was on the verge of a stroke and it could have been really critical for me. So I get on this medicine to lower my blood pressure. I was on the medicine for like 2 days straight, and it lowered my blood pressure. So finally, when my blood pressure was low enough, she came back to kind of explain to me what happened. She had basically told me that I had developed preeclampsia and that my blood pressure was really high and that it cut off the circulation to my son's umbilical cord. So at that time, prior to this, I had never heard of preeclampsia. I never would have thought that I didn't even know that it existed. So I made it my mission from that day forward to research on what preeclampsia is because the doctor didn't really give me too much information. She was just like, "Hey, you had preeclampsia." And honestly, y'all, I was in a different headspace. I didn't even really think to get a full understanding of it. So she told me that we got discharged from the hospital and we had a memorial for our son. After that, I made it my business to research what preeclampsia was. So during my research, I found that the signs of preeclampsia are protein in your urine and high blood pressure, as well as swelling. So I had all three of these things, guys, when I went into my doctor's appointment at 33 weeks pregnant, but they did not diagnose me with preeclampsia. I do fault my doctor for not diagnosing me correctly because I feel like had I been diagnosed correctly, that could have been prevented. It could have been prevented. That's why it is very important that we educate ourselves on the different type of diseases that you can get while you're pregnant. Now, the only thing that I knew about was gestational diabetes. Again, I had no idea about preeclampsia. But so I researched that, and then I had to go back and see the doctor again for my 6-week checkup. And yeah, she was trying to be nice, and she was very apologetic. And again, she still didn't offer an explanation on preeclampsia or on what really happened. Since, and it's kind of sad that it took for that to happen to me, for me to understand what exactly preeclampsia is. If you are pregnant or know someone who is pregnant, I encourage you to please make yourself aware of the signs of preeclampsia. For more information on preeclampsia, please visit www.preeclampsia.org. Please make yourself aware.